My wife is very cold. My wife has always been aloof, even after 10 years of marriage, she has never said I love you to me. Before I died, I discovered a love letter she had prepared for a long time, but my name was not on it. It turns out she had just been indifferent to me. After my rebirth, the first thing I did was cancel the engagement and help her deliver the love letter. She blushed with anger, the first time she ever yelled at me. Jiang Cheng, who asked you to meddle in my affairs? 1. An hour before the elevator accident, I was cleaning out the attic and found a yellowed love letter. The handwriting was familiar, the signature was familiar. But the name at the beginning was not mine. This was a love letter Fang Yan had written to another guy. In the moment the elevator fell, I was still thinking. I hadn't had the chance to find out who the man she liked was, what he looked like, or if he was much better than me. 2. When I woke up again, the sun outside was blinding. My head felt foggy, and my buddy Wang Yu sighed beside me. You finally woke up. You scared me to death. Luckily, the person next to you reacted quickly and took you to the infirmary. The boy next to me, dressed in a high school uniform, made me momentarily confused. 17-year-old Wang Yu? The warm touch in my hand told me everything wasn't a dream. I really had been reborn. Footsteps sounded at the door, and a figure flashed through the light and appeared in front of me. Are you okay? Fang Yan looked at me calmly, holding bread and milk. Familiar memories flooded back all at once. Right, I had overslept that day, didn't have time for breakfast, and fainted during the physical exercise because of low blood sugar. Fang Yan handed me the food and watched me eat. That morning, Fang Yan had a physics quiz in her class. But she skipped it because of me and later got scolded by the head teacher. 17-year-old me was still deep in the fantasy that she was worried about me, but my 32-year-old mind was clear. Fang Yan was only keeping her promise to her father to take good care of me. Fang Yan's father was a comrade of my dad. Later, when her father died, Fang Yan's mother took the compensation money and ran away. Seeing Fang Yan alone and vulnerable, my dad took her in to raise her. Because she was living under someone else's roof, she always listened to my dad and never dared to disobey him. From that day on, Fang Yan became my little follower. Everyone secretly teased us behind our backs, saying I had a well-behaved child bride. Later, my dad discovered my feelings and joked about Fang Yan becoming our family's daughter-in-law, but she didn't say a word. At that time, I thought she was just reserved and shy, but now I realize how foolish I was. 3. During class, I was distracted, replaying the events of my last life. I didn't want to hurt Fang Yan anymore. Maybe if I didn't marry her, she would be very happy, and I wouldn't die afterward. During evening self-study, the teacher ran over 10 minutes, and after class, the students rushed out like a swarm. I was tidying up my things when I saw Fang Yan standing at the door waiting for me, looking down at the collection of incorrect problems in her hand. The light shone on her, making her seem even lonelier. Walking out of the teaching building, we fell into silence. Fang Yan was always like this, cold and indifferent, as if she had no interest in anything. I looked at her back and suddenly stopped. Fang Yan, you can go back now. You don't need to walk with me anymore, and you don't need to wait for me in the future. Why? There's no reason. You are free, Fang Yan. I walked toward the back street of the school, planning to buy a few exercise books to catch up on my poor math. Someone chased after me, asking coldly, Jiang Cheng, what's wrong with you again? Is it because I went too late this morning? Or is it because you don't like the milk I bought? The supermarket only had that flavor left. The moonlight illuminated her, making her appear chilly. Her gaze seemed to say, what are you up to now? I tried to explain, it's really not that. The college entrance exam is coming up, and everyone's time is precious, you don't have to waste it on me. I need to work hard too. Fang Yan froze in place, perhaps hearing me say such things for the first time. I used to like sticking to Fang Yan. I didn't get into Beijing Qing University, but she did. However, she ultimately chose to stay in our city with me because of my dad's words. At that time, I naively thought she liked me, just didn't say it out loud. She must have felt regret, after all, that was her ideal university. 4. Fang Yan didn't follow me anymore. I walked into the bookstore, picked out a few practice books suitable for me, and also grabbed a composition book. When I went to pay, I suddenly realized the money in my pocket was gone. I walked through the bookstore again in confusion but didn't find it, not knowing if it had been stolen or dropped accidentally. Sighing, I planned to come back tomorrow to buy it when I turned and bumped into someone. "Damn!" the other party exclaimed, dropping the comic book in her hands as she frantically tried to protect the barbecue in her bowl. "Sorry. Why is it you again?" A familiar teasing tone. I focused and was surprised to see it was Song Wan. My college best friend. How did I bump into her now? What a coincidence, classmate. When you fainted this morning, my friend and I took you to the infirmary. Are you okay now? Oh, I'm fine, thanks. I was a bit slow to realize. I didn't know we had such a connection. I hadn't known in my last life. Song Wan picked up the comic book and saw me hesitating in place, so she took the books from my hands to pay for them. I saw you wandering around the store just now, like you were looking for something. Did you lose your money? I nodded quickly. This girl was observant, no wonder she was going to study criminal investigation in the future. I said I would return the money to her tomorrow, but Song Wan waved her hand. Just take me out for a meal tomorrow. We walked out onto the back street, and the number of people on the street at night had dwindled, with only a few students passing by. I looked at the delinquent youths gathered not far ahead, smoking together, and turned to say I would walk her home. I went to the garage to get a black scooter. 5. After dropping her off at the bottom of her building, the roar of the scooter finally ceased. She was worried about being splashed with water from upstairs and asked me to be quiet when I left. I scoffed, can't help it, my baby is just that powerful. That sounded weird. When I got home, I unexpectedly bumped into Fang Yan at the entrance of the community. How strange, didn't I tell her to go back first? Why was she slower than me? Fang Yan took the elevator upstairs with me, and the silence carried a strange sense of oppression. As the elevator doors closed, she suddenly spoke. That girl is your goal to work hard toward? No, I just bumped into her. Really a coincidence. Her tone was flat, as if she didn't care much, so I didn't explain further. When I got home, Fang Yan would finish her homework before going to take a shower. Taking advantage of her walking into the bathroom, I sneaked into her room and found that love letter. She always hid her things in fixed places, underneath a pile of books, easy to find. I opened the letter, and despite thinking hard, I had no idea who Li was. Could it be a classmate from her class? Considering her cold demeanor, she probably wouldn't chase after someone her whole life. How about I give her a hand? Chapter 6. The next day, I went to school with dark circles under my eyes. After investigating all night, I found out that there were no boys with the surname Li in Fang Yan's class, only 2 girls. Math class was, as usual, a blur for me. Even though I was reborn, I still couldn't solve the problems I couldn't solve before. It seemed the gap between Fang Yan and me was destined to be unbridgeable. At noon, I planned to ask Song Wan out for lunch, but unexpectedly, Fang Yan was waiting for me at the door again, holding a bag with the roast chicken I liked. I told you there's no need to wait for me anymore. Just do what you need to do. Oh. She handed me the bag. Thanks, but you don't have to buy it for me next time. Fang Yan looked at me, confused, and sighed softly. Jiang Cheng, what exactly have I done to upset you? You've been avoiding me lately. It's not you. It's me. I've just figured some things out. As I walked toward the cafeteria, I remembered something and turned back to her, speaking earnestly. Oh, by the way, last time when my dad said you should marry me, he was just joking. You don't have to take it seriously or feel like you need to listen to him. Fang Yan, good luck with your college entrance exam. I hope you get into your dream university. Fang Yan frowned, looking puzzled as to why I was saying all this. When I arrived at the cafeteria, Song Wan was already waiting for me with a seat saved. What's that? Song Wan glanced at the bag in my hand. Roast chicken. You can have it, as thanks for helping me yesterday. Ah, no need to be so polite. Song Wan waved it off, but when she caught a whiff of the roast chicken, she couldn't resist and grabbed a drumstick. One bite led to another. She was eating so enthusiastically that grease was dripping from her mouth. Just as I was about to remind her, a cold voice interrupted us. No wonder you dumped me, so, are you two dating now? Song Wan was so startled she almost choked. I turned around to meet Fang Yan's icy gaze, feeling like I'd been caught in the act. Wait, no. Fang Yan and I aren't married anymore. Sensing the tension between us, Song Wan quickly made an excuse to go buy some water. It's not like that. We just met recently, we're just classmates. I was telling the truth, but Fang Yan impatiently cut me off. There's no need to explain to me. I'm not going to tell your dad. There's no reason to avoid me anymore. She said this coolly, turned around, and walked away, seemingly a bit angry. When Song Wan returned, she sneakily asked who Fang Yan was. Seeing the gossipy look in her eyes, she probably thought Fang Yan and I were a couple. I gave her a brief explanation, and Song Wan grinned knowingly. Oh, childhood sweethearts, huh? She seems to care about you quite a bit. Not really. Fang Yan couldn't wait to get rid of me. Chapter 7. After school on Friday, Wang Yu wanted to try a new dish at the barbecue restaurant across from school and dragged me along. The barbecue place had been around for a long time and was always packed. The roast chicken Fang Yan bought for me came from here. Wang Yu ordered 2 portions of the special roast chicken. While we waited, I overheard a staff member mention that they were running low on supplies and were discussing it with the owner, Boss Lee. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a boy in a school uniform slip into the back of the restaurant. Could that be Boss Lee's son? Lee. That's his surname. His name is Li Yang. I saw his name on the list of contestants for the English essay competition. He's a top student. Always in the top 50 of the grade. That's right. He's participated in many competitions and excels academically, so it makes sense he'd have some connection with Fang Yan. No wonder Fang Yan often buys roast chicken. She must like coming here because she can see him. Every time she buys it, she seems to be in a good mood. I used to think it was because of me. A feeling of frustration welled up inside me, but I pushed it down. To confirm if the letter was about Li Yang, I approached him when he came out. Hi, Li. I'm a friend of Fang Yan's. She forgot something. Huh? Did she? Li Yang didn't seem particularly wary and rummaged through his bag, puzzled. She just explained 2 math problems to me and lent me her math notebook. I don't think she left anything behind. So they do know each other. I recognized the familiar orange-covered notebook, one I had bought for Fang Yan. I used to ask her for help with math, but she wasn't very patient. Eventually, I stopped asking because I felt embarrassed for not understanding. I guess I was mistaken. I'll let her know. Wang Yu and I left the restaurant. He handed me the roast chicken excitedly, but I had lost my appetite. When you're feeling down, everything tastes bitter. You're not eating? Is it not good? Wang Yu nudged me. Hey, what were you talking to Li Yang about earlier? Nothing much. How did you know his name was Li Yang? Wang Yu glanced around and lowered his voice. Because a friend told me he's Boss Li's adopted son, so I remembered him. Oh. Chapter 8. Now that I knew who the love letter was about, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I wondered what kind of emotions Fang Yan had when she wrote that letter. I envy Li Yang. Thinking back to when I confessed to Fang Yan in our second year of high school, what did she say? Oh, she said. I got it. Her tone was indifferent and distant, as if it was a bother. That evening, after reviewing my mistakes, I planned to memorize some English vocabulary. My phone lit up with a few files from Song Wan. Song Wan, these are math practice papers for my mom. You should do them too. Ask me if you need help. Her mom was a math competition coach, and I was lucky enough to get some extra tutoring from her. I thanked her and sent a funny emoji in return. Suddenly, the door to my room burst open. Fang Yan walked in with a dark expression. This was the first time she hadn't knocked. Did you go through my stuff? She didn't say what, but I knew. Feeling guilty, I took the letter out of the drawer. Sorry, I didn't mean to snoop. I had planned to play matchmaker for them, but I didn't expect to get caught so quickly. Fang Yan took the letter back, her face sour, clearly upset that her feelings had been exposed. Despite the bitterness in my heart, I mustered the courage to speak. I know who you wrote about in that letter. It's the guy from the barbecue shop, right? If you like him, you should confess soon. He's really outstanding, and if you wait too long, someone else might snatch him up. After the college entrance exam, you can pursue him properly. You won't have to use the excuse of buying roast chicken for me anymore. Who asked you to meddle? She glared at me, anger flashing in her eyes. I just want you to be happy. Happy? She let out a cold laugh. It seems like ever since you started dating someone, you've been eager to dump me on someone else. You said you liked me before, but now you've changed so quickly. I was stunned. I didn't expect her to think that way. You don't like me, so what, am I supposed to hang myself on one tree? I retorted in frustration. Exactly. Don't hang yourself on me. I find it bad luck. With that, she turned and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I bit my lip, determined. Fang Yan. I will never like you again in this lifetime. 9. The following week, I didn't say a word to Fang Yan. My dad assumed we were both busy preparing for exams, so he didn't ask anything. On the weekend, I had some free time and went to the library with Song Wan to work on some problems. She was better than me academically, with a more flexible mindset, so she often helped me with difficult questions. When she felt stressed, I'd take her for a ride on my black motorcycle to relax. Thinking about how we would be lifelong friends filled me with hope for the future. Maybe it was because of all my hard work, but during the monthly exams, my grades improved by more than 10 spots. My dad got a call from the homeroom teacher and was overjoyed. Fang Yan, who was making coffee, overheard and glanced at me with a sneer. Impressive, huh? Being in a relationship hasn't affected your studies at all. We're even. Your crush hasn't stopped you from being number one either, has it? I deliberately shot back, then turned to my room to continue studying, not bothering to look at her annoyed expression. There was 1 month left until the college entrance exam. It was my most focused time, my mind was filled only with solving problems and earning points. I had no time to think about love. June arrived with the heat, just like the looming exam. This time, I felt fully prepared, confident as I wrote. Even the final math question, which I used to leave blank, I managed to write something down this time, though I wasn't sure if the answer was right or not. 10. The final bell rang, signaling the end of the exam. It also marked the conclusion of my high school life once again. As I left the exam room, I saw Li Yang and Fang Yen standing together. She seemed frustrated about not doing well on a question and was urgently comparing answers with him. Maybe love really does make someone look better in your eyes. Because Fang Yen was definitely more patient with him than with anyone else. I passed by them and headed toward Wang Yu and Song Wan. We had already planned to hit the amusement park, KTV, and Happy Valley, everything we could think of. During the time before the results were released, I spent my days out having fun, and my dad didn't bother to stop me. Oddly enough, Fang Yen would call me every day, asking when I'd be home. If I was out too late, I'd make sure to take Song Wan home first. Whenever Fang Yen found out, she'd make some sarcastic comment. Like today, when it was my birthday, I'd officially turned 18. I didn't get home until after midnight, slightly drunk, with Song Wan casually walking me back. When we reached the building, she suddenly stopped me. Jiang Cheng. Let's celebrate every one of your birthdays together from now on, okay? It was too dark to see her expression clearly, and I thought she was just making a declaration of our everlasting friendship. Of course. You're my best friend. I slapped her on the back a few times, maybe a little too hard, because she coughed and something like disappointment flickered in her eyes. Careful, you almost killed your best friend. We both laughed. Just then, we bumped into Fang Yen, who was coming downstairs to throw out the trash. She gave us a resentful look and grumbled, "Jiang Cheng, it's past midnight, and you're still not home? Hey, you'd better go. Your little childhood friend is calling you." Song Wan teased me in a low voice, waved goodbye, and reminded me to drink some honey water when I got home. 11. On the way up in the elevator, Fang Yen was still chattering. For the first time, I felt she was as talkative as an old woman. "Are you annoying or what? I'm back now, aren't I?" She paused, her tone strange. "Me annoying? Didn't you promise me you'd be home before 10? What if something happened to you? How am I supposed to explain that to Uncle? Today is an exception, and I'm with Song Wan and the others. There's no danger. Even if I don't come back, I naturally have somewhere to go. Staying out late, where else do you plan to go with her? Don't think that just because you're dating, you can do whatever you want." Fang Yan's tone turned serious, her entire demeanor ridden with vigilance. I looked at her strangely. "Why are you being so fierce?" She awkwardly looked away, falling silent. As I walked into the house and started pouring water, she spoke up quietly. "Today is your birthday. Why didn't you invite me?" "Oh, I forgot." Actually, I hadn't forgotten, I just didn't want to think about unhappy things on such a joyful day. Fang Yen lowered her eyes, dejectedly going to the fridge to get honey for me. After a moment, she handed me a blue box. "Happy birthday." "Thanks." After finishing the honey water, I didn't feel the urge to open the gift box. She hesitated for a moment, wanting to say something but stopping herself, then she lowered her head and went back to her room. I didn't have much expectation for the gift she gave me. Every year, she had given me anime character cards, the kind you could get by scanning a QR code on the street, cards that were everywhere. Even now, my bedside was filled with those cards. I opened the box with little interest, and I was instantly stunned. Inside was a hand-woven little boy carrying a stylish backpack, very much like me when I was young. The person who wove it was clearly a beginner, with 2 visible flaws. She actually made this by hand? That's quite rare in my life. 12. On the day the college entrance examination results came out, my dad accompanied us to check our scores. Fang Yen was unsurprisingly high-scoring, with 698. When I saw my score of 622, tears immediately flowed down my face. "That's great, you really made me proud." My dad. With red eyes, patted my head and said he'd take us out for a big meal that evening. He quickly screenshot the scores and posted them on social media to show off. By the way, Cheng, which school do you plan to go to? When will you fill out your applications? I'll just stay at a local 985 university. I want to be closer to Dad, and Wang Yu and Song Wan seem to be preparing to stay in this province too. Good, good, good. Then I won't have to worry about you going to a place where you don't know anyone. In my past life, I didn't do well on the exams and had to choose an engineering major. This time, I could choose to study medicine. My mother passed away when I was very young, back when medical care was not advanced. So I wanted to contribute as much as I could. Fang Yan looked at her score and seemed unfazed. Li Yang probably scored similarly, and they could go to Beijing University together. That's great. While my dad was on the phone, Fang Yan suddenly asked me. You want to stay local mainly because of Song Wan, right? Do you really like her that much? What does that have to do with you? I was a bit annoyed with her, it felt like she was interfering more and more recently. Fang Yan stared at me, her expression no longer as indifferent as before. Jiang Cheng, just say the word, I can stay in this province with you too. No need. Your score is so good, it would be a waste to stay here. You should go to your ideal Beijing University. Li Yang will probably get into that school too, you'll have a companion. I didn't give him the love letter. Oh. My phone lit up, Song Wan was calling me. Just as I was about to answer, Fang Yan grabbed my wrist, a little annoyed. Don't you care at all? What should I care about? Care about you? Who said not to let me hang on one tree, fearing bad luck? I returned her exact words. And her face turned pale instantly. I shook off her hand and went to the balcony to answer the call. 13. Song Wan's parents both worked in this province, so she stayed here and aligned her choices with mine. Great, we can ride together again in the future. After that day, I didn't pay much attention to Fang Yan's whereabouts. Whether she was pursuing Li Yang or not was no longer my concern. Summer vacation flew by, and I spent every day having fun with Song Wan. Learning to drive and getting my license, I got a bit tanned. Fang Yan received her acceptance letter from Beijing University and left for school without saying goodbye to me, as if she was sulking. The daily life of a medical student was busy, there was so much knowledge to learn. I ran between the library and the classroom every day, and when Song Wan invited me to dinner, I had to pick my timing carefully. During the final exams, I stared at two thick books like bricks, wanting to cry. Seeing me thin down, Song Wan often brought me food and studied with me. Why do you look so relaxed? Don't you need to review? I asked her. It's all in my head, she shrugged. I was equally jealous of everyone with a good memory. Since Song Wan often came to find me, classmates began to discuss it, thinking she was pursuing me. I also vaguely sensed something different about her feelings towards me. But Song Wan always acted the same as before, so I didn't take the initiative to break the silence. After the exams, I celebrated Song Wan's birthday at school, but I was still worried about whether I got the pathology questions right. Looking at the candles, Song Wan smiled. I don't have any wishes, how about I make one for you? Jiang Cheng, don't look so grim. From now on, all my wishes will be for you. Will that make you smile? I forced a smile and didn't hold back. I hope I don't fail any courses, please. Okay. The heavens have heard you. She blew out the candles, her smile full of indulgence. 14. During the summer break, I ran into Fang Yan again after half a year of no contact. She had chosen to study law and seemed to be quite busy, often participating in various debate competitions and club activities at her school. For the first half of the month after she returned, we got along peacefully, almost like strangers. Until Thursday night, when Fang Yan went out to meet her friends and came home late. I was almost asleep when I heard a stumbling sound at the door, followed by her bumping into the hallway cabinet. I walked out and saw Fang Yan sitting on the floor, looking dejected. "What's wrong? Did you drink too much?" I was about to make her some honey water when she suddenly grabbed my wrist. "Jiang Cheng, I saw Song Wan today." "And?" "She said you two were never together." "Oh." I responded flatly, but somehow that set her off. Fang Yan suddenly stood up and hugged me tightly, her eyes filled with complicated emotions. "Why didn't you tell me? Why did you let me misunderstand for so long? Was it fun playing with me? Do you know that I—" She didn't finish her sentence, but her red-rimmed eyes looked like she was about to cry. It would be a lie to say I didn't feel anything seeing her like this. But I found it laughable. "Fang Yan, I explained it to you back then, but you didn't want to listen. What right do you have to question me now?" In the silence, she seemed to recall that day in the cafeteria when she saw a girl sitting next to me. She had to admit, in that moment, she felt irritated. That feeling had only grown over time, festering inside her. Fang Yan wiped her eyes, gathering the courage to look at me. "Jiang Cheng, I think I can't let you go. Could you keep liking me?" I had imagined this scenario many times before. But now that it was happening, it was too late. "No." "Why not?" she asked anxiously, gripping me tightly. "Is it because of that love letter?" I was immature back then. I couldn't tell the difference between liking someone and admiring them. I didn't like Li Yang, I just felt a kind of camaraderie with her. "Is that so? But I never once felt like you liked me. All I ever felt from her was impatience and indifference. Give me a chance. Let's start over. I'll make sure you can really feel it this time, okay?" She pleaded, her drunken eyes locking onto mine like I was her last lifeline. I tried to push her away several times, but she wouldn't let go. The more I resisted, the more desperate she became. "Jiang Cheng, please, like me again." She leaned in to kiss me, but I panicked and dodged, pushing her away hard. She hit the cabinet, the dull thud breaking the quiet of the night. The pain snapped her back to reality. Fang Yan let go of me, her eyes filled with sorrow. "Jiang Cheng, I didn't want to hear another word from her, so I quickly fled back to my room. 15. The next day, I tried to act as if nothing had happened, but Fang Yan's gaze was full of guilt. At noon, Song Wan came to pick me up. We had plans to see the latest movie. She was dressed up nicely today, even wearing a little floral dress. When she opened the door and saw my weary expression, her face grew concerned. "What's wrong? Are you sick or in a bad mood?" "I'm fine." I reached for my hat, but she suddenly grabbed my wrist. There were a few visible nail marks, clearly from external force. "Who did this?" She grew alert, almost like a detective. "I scratched myself by accident." Song Wan didn't believe me at all. Her eyes locked onto Fang Yan, who was sitting on the couch, and she stepped forward to confront her. "Did you do this to him?" "Yes." Fang Yan had been staring at us since we entered, clearly irritated. "You little—" Song Wan lunged at her. And I was so startled I rushed to grab her. But Fang Yan seemed to have found a release, grabbing Song Wan's hair as if ready for a fight. Panicked, I yelled at them to let go. If my dad came home and saw the mess, he'd kill us. "Stop it. Can't you two calm down?" I pulled Song Wan away, seeing a scratch on her face. My future police officer, losing her cool like that? Fang Yan didn't look much better either. Song Wan had been trained and knew how to hit where it hurt. Fang Yan's face was pale, though the bruises weren't visible yet. Song Wan, seeing my glare, didn't dare speak, muttering weakly, the movie's about to start. Let's go. What movie? You're hurt. We're going to the pharmacy to get some medicine. I dragged her out angrily, completely forgetting that someone else was also injured. Fang Yen watched our retreating figures, covering the side of her face in sadness. At the pharmacy, I applied the medicine to Song Wan's injuries. She winced in pain. From now on, no more fighting. What you've learned is to protect people, not to get into brawls. She bullied you, and you're still defending her? She looked up at me, clearly unhappy. I'm not. I'm just looking out for you. If you get reported and face consequences, won't it affect your chances of becoming a police officer? Song Wan paused, then her lips curled into a smile, though it quickly dropped because of the pain. Jiang Cheng, you care about me, don't you? No. Yes, you do. 16. Since my fallout with Fang Yen, she hadn't done anything drastic. But it seemed like she really had started to like me, trying to show me through her actions. On every holiday, she'd come back to cook for me or bring me carefully chosen gifts. Birthdays, National Day, Christmas, she was always around at school. Seeing her exhausted from catching flights, with dark circles under her eyes, I couldn't help but think she was wasting her time. But she only cared about whether or not I was happy. On my birthday in my senior year, I was moving dorms to another campus. Song Wan was doing her internship at the police department and had been sent on a mission, so she couldn't be there for my birthday. Fang Yen was in the kitchen, cooking all my favorite dishes. I was distracted, staring at my chat with Song Wan. What are you looking at? Dinner's ready. Nothing. I just don't know what Song Wan's been up to these past few days. I wonder if her work is dangerous. If she... Jiang Cheng. Fang Yen cut me off sharply, snapping me back to reality. I suddenly remembered she was the one sitting in front of me. You've been mentioning her since I got here. Her eyes were full of frustration but also resignation. Oh, sorry. Jiang Cheng, when will you ever notice me? Let's eat. The soup looks good. Fang Yen sighed, feeling like she'd tried everything. Why couldn't things go back to the way they were? Late that night, as I was getting ready for bed, my phone lit up. Song Wan, open the window. I rushed to the window, pulling back the curtains to see Song Wan standing below, waving something glowing. I ran downstairs, excited to see her. I thought you said you might not make it back from your mission. I did, but I promised someone I'd always be there for their birthdays. She handed me a jar filled with glowing fireflies and a box containing a pair of sneakers I liked. The fireflies are from my mission. I thought you'd like them. Thank you. I smiled at her, a few words bubbling up inside me. Song Wan, I. She seemed to guess what I was going to say and quickly interrupted me. Happy birthday, Jiang Cheng. I understood her hesitation, her job was special, after all. I swallowed my words and changed the subject. Thank you. I'm really happy. 17. While Song Wan was interning, I was studying for my graduate degree. While Song Wan was working as a team leader at the police station, I had just begun my internship at the hospital. Every time I witnessed pain and suffering, it weighed heavily on my heart. Until one day, the hospital received several critically injured patients. Song Wan was among them. She had been stabbed in the abdomen, her spleen damaged, and she was losing a lot of blood. My mentor worked hard to save her for a long time, and it wasn't until the red light in the operating room turned off that I felt a sense of relief. I took a moment to check on her. Her face was pale, as if she might not wake up the next second. With tears in my eyes, I silently prayed that she wouldn't suffer any more misfortunes. Late at night, I was reviewing neurosurgery notes by her bedside when I suddenly saw her finger twitch. Looking up, I met her gaze. Jiang Cheng? Is it you who saved me? No, it was my mentor. I only helped a little bit. I stood up to check her physical condition, asking if she felt dizzy or nauseous, and recorded my observations, finally feeling reassured. You look so professional now, Song Wan smiled, her eyes shining brightly. Well, of course. I've worked hard for so many years. Then I'll be relying on Dr. Jiang from now on. Don't say that. Just don't let me see you in the hospital again. She smiled and lightly brushed her fingertips against mine. After hesitating for a moment, she didn't hold on. A nurse came to call me for rounds, and I reminded her of a few things before leaving. After that, it was back to the busy routine. Song Wan spent a month recovering in the hospital, and many colleagues came to visit her. Every time I went for rounds, her friends would raise their eyebrows and give knowing looks, as if everyone understood. But Song Wan didn't show any signs. Until the day she was discharged. She didn't say much and obediently called me Dr. Jiang. I handed her the medication, clearly outlining the instructions, pretending to probe her. Hey, Song Wan, don't you have anything to say to me? What? That I will strictly follow the doctor's advice? She feigned innocence. I smiled helplessly. 18. In the following years, Song Wan frequently went on missions, traveling all over the country, and sometimes I couldn't reach her. Fang Yen was still as outstanding as ever. She graduated and joined a top law firm, quickly becoming an elite lawyer. She was now quite wealthy and occasionally sent me strange yet expensive gifts. Some I didn't even have the chance to open, all piled up in my dad's study. The hospital was too busy, sometimes I couldn't even find time to eat. Fang Yen had come to see me a few times but said very little before I got caught up in work again. She remained persistent, reaching out to me whenever she had the chance, occasionally delivering gifts or meals to the hospital. Sometimes when she got drunk, she would call me repeatedly asking, Jiang Cheng, what would it take for you to like me? Can you please tell me? Why are you treating me this way? You were the one who liked me first, how could you just change like that? I was wrong, I shouldn't have said those things. Will you come back and keep liking me? Jiang Cheng, I really miss you. No one's feelings change so easily. In all those years we spent together, and during the 10 years we were married in my past life, she had countless opportunities to express her love for me. Since she didn't, then it's fine. Let's move forward. 19. Time flew by, and I found myself at the age of 32 again. In my past life, I had died in a lift accident in December of this year. I wonder if there will be any more accidents this year. The phone ringing interrupted my thoughts. Song Wan's cheerful voice came through. Dr. Jiang, my birthday is next week. What are you planning to give me? I don't know. This girl had pretended not to understand my hints for so many years, creating a relationship that felt more like a couple without actually being one. Now she still wanted me to give her a gift? Humph. She chuckled softly, the department is planning to promote me. I'll have fewer missions and can settle down in this province. Oh, then what? I feigned ignorance. Then. I'll make my birthday wish myself this year. My wish is a bit special, do you think it will come true? Why not give it a try? I pretended to be calm, but inside, a sense of sweetness blossomed. Before the phone call ended, a nurse rushed in, saying the director wanted to hold an emergency meeting. I quickly grabbed my notebook and headed over. The director announced that an 8.0 magnitude earthquake had struck Tongcheng, and the hospital needed to send personnel to assist. No wonder I felt dizzy at noon, it wasn't just my imagination. I was on the list, quickly gathering my things and joining the team heading to Tongcheng. Upon arrival, the scene was a wasteland filled with cries of despair. My colleagues and I didn't have time to feel sad, we immediately joined the relief efforts. There was a shortage of supplies here, and access was difficult. Many medications were unavailable. We all posted on social media to gather support, and Fang Yen contacted me immediately, offering to donate supplies. Me, thank you, Lawyer Fang. Fang Yen, how should I be thanked? Is that the only way you'll bother to acknowledge me? Me, I'm busy. Fang Yen, stay safe and contact me if you need anything. 20. Late at night, I was about to switch shifts with a colleague when a sudden tremor startled everyone. Quick! Hide under the table. A colleague shouted. Just as I took a step, the ground suddenly caved in. Debris from the collapse came crashing down. Then everything turned dark, and I lost consciousness. The second earthquake wasn't as strong as the first, but the damage it caused was significant. I was trapped beneath rubble, my body pinned down, unable to move. I didn't know how much time had passed. My body began to tingle, and my hands lost feeling. My mouth was dry, and I didn't even have the strength to call for help. Everything was dark before me, reminding me of the moment of weightlessness in the elevator. Was this all fated? Was I going to die after all? My phone in my pocket lit up. I caught a glimpse of Song-won calling, but I couldn't pick it up. How awful. I had been reborn once, and yet I still couldn't be with the person I liked. My consciousness began to fade, and my body started to grow cold. Suddenly, a voice rang out from above. Jiang Cheng. Where are you? Chapter 21. It felt like I had slept for a century. When I woke up, I found myself back at the hospital where I work. Jiang Cheng, you're awake? How do you feel? Is anything uncomfortable? Song-won asked anxiously, tears welling up in her eyes. I shook my head. How's the rescue? Are my colleagues who were trapped with me okay? They're all fine. The disaster is under control now. Do you know you've been asleep for half a month? She was both frustrated and relieved, clutching my hand tightly like a precious treasure. Thank goodness you woke up. She lowered her head, and her tears fell onto the back of my hand, burning hot. Did you rescue me? I asked. Yes. I couldn't reach you, and then the team sent us for support. Thank you. What are you thanking me for? You've saved me before, so we're even. Song-won called in the doctor to check on me, then bought me a nutritious meal and fed me spoonful by spoonful. Like taking care of a child. I stayed in the hospital for a few more days to recover, and Song-won watched over me every day. On the day I was discharged, I hadn't forgotten about her birthday. Confessions are things guys should take the lead on, after all. I quietly packed my things and prepared a surprise with the help of some friends. In the evening, when Song-won arrived at the hospital, as she approached the entrance, rose petals began to float down from the sky. Before she could react, I knelt on one knee, holding the engagement ring I had prepared, the diamond shining. Song-won, I love you. I've loved you since high school, but I was afraid of interfering with your career, so I never dared to tell you. Now, will you give me this chance? Song-won, will you marry me? Her colleagues started throwing petals everywhere, and mine began to cheer as well. She froze for a moment, her face flushing bright red. Tears welled up in her eyes as she nodded, looking shy for the first time. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a familiar figure on the edge of the crowd. Fang Yen was holding a thermos, seemingly in a rush, with sweat on her forehead. Her face had gone pale as she watched the scene unfold, her eyes full of sorrow. I do. Song-won shouted happily. I slipped the ring onto her finger, and it fit perfectly. Finally, I had what I'd been waiting for. Song-won threw herself into my arms, crying tears of joy. Wow, this is the first time I've seen the captain cry. What do you know? This is love. I'm so jealous. Is it too late to go back to high school? I don't want to be single forever. That night, I received a message from Fang Yan. Are you really going to marry her? Jiang Cheng, I've known you the longest. Why should it be her in the end? Can't you look at me again? I deleted the message and blocked her. Turning off my phone. I held Song Wan close and slept peacefully. Chapter 22. On the day of my wedding to Song Wan, Fang Yan didn't attend. But she did send an incredibly expensive diamond. When Song Wan saw the gift, she immediately became sarcastic, thinking Fang Yan still hadn't given up. So, she embedded the diamond into a collar and put it on my dad's husky. A year after I got married, Fang Yan was still single. Later, Song Wan gave birth to a daughter, and Fang Yan remained single. Even my dad started encouraging her to find a partner, saying there were plenty of people chasing after her. Fang Yan quietly drank, her face dark. After dinner, she looked at the little girl in the cradle and pressed her lips together. Jiang Cheng, she looks a lot like you. Yeah. If back then. She didn't finish her sentence, holding back the rest of her thoughts with a sigh. Song Wan frowned, glaring at her suspiciously. What are you trying to do? He's my husband, legally, so don't get any ideas. Fang Yan sneered, only legally for now. Life is long, and who knows if there might be a divorce someday. She thought bitterly, her heart filled with jealousy. You. Song Wan almost wanted to hit her again, but with the family present, she held back. On the way home, Song Wan was still fuming, wanting to snap at everything, even a passing dog. In the middle of the night, she suddenly sat up and asked me. Jiang Cheng, where do you keep our marriage certificate? Why? I'm going to hide it. Stop messing around. I went back to sleep while she rummaged through the drawers, trying to figure out a good hiding place. End of story. Epilogue. My name is Fang Yan. From the first day I arrived at the Li family, I knew that Jiang Cheng and I would never be equal. Although my uncle treated me well, if anything happened to Jiang Cheng, he would blame me for not keeping an eye on him. So I always followed Jiang Cheng, watching him to ensure he wouldn't get into trouble. Everyone said I was his child bride. I didn't deny it. Because that's what it was. Living under someone else's roof, I hated that feeling. I resented him, too. I hated Jiang Cheng. He always clung to me, wanting to follow me around and do this and that. I couldn't refuse him, but deep down, I felt repulsed. To prevent my uncle from thinking he had adopted a thankless child, I had to appease Jiang Cheng and keep him from getting angry. As he grew older, he became increasingly handsome. I found myself stealing glances at him frequently, and when he caught me, I pretended to be aloof and teased him for being narcissistic. I didn't want to fall for him. I didn't want to lose my last shred of dignity. But in our sophomore year, Jiang Cheng confessed to me. Inside, I couldn't help but feel happy, but I forced myself to suppress it. He seemed a bit disappointed by my response, but the next day, he continued to pester me. One day, he fell ill, the medicine was too bitter, and he asked me to buy him a chicken leg. At the barbecue shop, I ran into Li Yang. At that time, he had dropped a freshly grilled chicken wing by accident, and his adoptive father was scolding him for being useless, calling him worthless. If I hadn't been there, that man would have likely been even harsher. I watched Li Yang's cautious demeanor, feeling as if I was just like him. Later, I often made excuses to buy barbecue for Jiang Cheng just to see Li Yang. Every time I bought the barbecue, I didn't rush to go back. I would sit in the shop, feeling like I had a moment to breathe. That was one of the few times I didn't have to cater to Jiang Cheng's or my uncle's feelings. Sometimes we would talk about our original families. Li Yang would always sigh, but afterwards, he would study hard. Like a resilient little grass. I should like a boy like that. Only he could understand how I felt. I wrote Li Yang a love letter, but I never sent it. I always felt that my feelings for him weren't enough, it wouldn't be fair to him. Recently, Jiang Cheng has been acting strange, he always seems to want to get rid of me. I saw him laughing with Song Wan, and I guessed they were probably dating. He said he liked me, but it changed so quickly. On one hand, I secretly delighted in the thought of escaping him. On the other hand, I was somewhat irritated. Why did he like someone else? Later, I discovered that the love letter was missing. I instinctively suspected that Jiang Cheng had taken it, and I panicked and angrily went to find him. He was surprisingly calm, as if it didn't matter to him whom I liked. I was very upset. On the day of college applications, I told Jiang Cheng that I could stay and accompany him. But he no longer valued me. I was both angry and frustrated, and I ran far away to Beijing University. After I went there, I regretted it. I wasn't by Jiang Cheng's side, but Song Wan was. Jiang Cheng ignored me, even when he did talk to me, he always mentioned Song Wan's name. I hated this. I wanted to return to the time when he clung to me. But no matter what I did, we could never go back. Many years passed, and Jiang Cheng and Song Wan still weren't together. I thought I still had a chance. But Jiang Cheng was very busy and always indifferent to me. Even when I gave him expensive gifts, he no longer smiled at me like he used to. I was scared. Until Jiang Cheng got into trouble while on a rescue mission, my heart completely broke, and I suddenly realized I couldn't wait any longer. I cooked his favorite soup and hurried over. But it was too late. I regretted it so much. Song Wan was right, I clearly had so many years to keep Jiang Cheng. But I didn't. I made him sad. I pushed him into someone else's arms. Ah Cheng, take care of yourself. The end.